Welcome to the LA Hoops and Homers podcast, your home for all things Dodgers, Lakers, Clippers, and Angels. I'm your host, Derek, joined as usual by your other host, Josh. We're ready to get into some sports.
And welcome to episode 3, everyone, where we're going to break down the Clippers and the Mavericks series. Quite a game 4 we just had. Luka Doncic, baby GOAT, game winner, 43 points. We're going to be here to break it down along with previewing the rest of the series. Derek, quite the game. What did you think of it?
Well, this game was kind of a roller coaster. I sat down to watch it. I watched the first quarter, and Clippers jumped out to a huge lead, and I thought, well, this game is over and the series is probably over. So I stopped watching for a little while, and about 20 minutes later, I checked my phone, and it's like a game again. And it's so I, quickly flipped the game back on, and it was crazy seeing the things that Luka Doncic was doing. He was just getting to the rim at will, kicking the ball out to his teammates for wide open shots. It was just a master class of how to slice up a defense. What did you see?
Yeah, I saw a great matchup. I loved watching Luka Doncic and Kawhi Leonard go at it in the fourth quarter, especially when things got kind of close. Mm-hmm. You see an all-time defender going up, someone that's going to be, for me at least, I think an MVP level player going forward for the next 10 years. That was awesome to see. I also like to see Lou Williams a lot. He came out, he dropped, I believe it was 32 points. This past game, 36 points. 36 points. So that was incredible to see. I feel like I had to look up his age, honestly, because I thought he's like 40. It turns out he's only 33. Yeah. I'm really kind of upset that the Lakers let him go.
He's on one of the cheapest contracts too. He's only getting paid like $8 million a year.
Exactly, to drop that and to have that lethal weapon off your bench. Now I get that doesn't play defense, but still. Yeah. So that was good to see. Reggie Jackson stepped up pretty big. Kawhi doing Kawhi things. Mm-hmm. And on the Mavericks side, you see Trey Burke deciding to go off. 10 of 14 from the field, 71% shooting, 25 points, plus minus of 17. That's what the Mavericks are going to need to win, especially with Kristaps being out in Game 4.
I mean, if you just look at the difference between Trey Burke and Paul George, you would think that they switched those stat lines because, Paul George has really been struggling this series. Some of his previous playoff ghosts have been haunting him. In the last 3, he only scored 9 points in this Game 4. The 3 games, in the 2 games before that, he had 11 points and 14 points. And over the last 3 games, he's averaging 10.3 points on only 21% shooting from the field and 16% from 3. In this game, he passed up a lot of open shots. It just seems like his confidence is really shot, and that is not a good sign going forward in the series. What do you think about he's had some good games in the playoffs. I mean, he started off his career being like some of those legendary playoff battles between him and LeBron in Indiana versus Miami. And ever since he got to Oklahoma City, he had some games where he struggled. And this year he has really hurt their chances. I mean, besides just having to be better, what can he do to get himself to really make an impact on the series if the shots aren't falling?
Well, something that really stands out to me is his free throw attempts. In the series so far, he's averaging 3.3 free throws per game. And I really believe that's something that has to go up. If you're not going to be willing to at least drive the ball and try to get people to foul you, you're going to force your will. Something I will admit that he has done well, at least, is while his shot isn't going in, he's averaging 7 rebounds a game, along with almost 4 assists a game. So at least he's been somewhat consistent on that end. But his defense hasn't been up to par either. He's only averaging 1.3 steals. I think he's had 1 block the whole series.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't seem like the threat that he used to. He definitely still has a talent. You can see it's in his head. When they come down to the floor, Kawhi has the ball. Paul George is sitting in the other side of the corner. When they're having some movement, Lou Williams is getting the ball. Montrezl Harrell's getting the ball, but Paul George is still sitting in the corner.
Yeah, I mean, if this series, this 7 game series has now become just a best 2 out of 3 series, and we know that in a best 2 out of 3 series, pretty much anything can happen. So, I mean, for the Clippers to win 2 of the next 3 games, Paul George has to average more than 10 points a game. I mean, there's just no other way to talk about it. He's got to be better than that. You got a great performance from Kawhi. Kawhi's been consistently fantastic scoring the ball throughout this series.
Mhm.
You got a great performance from Lou Williams, 36 points, a playoff career high. Um, but Paul George, only 9 points, only 2 points off the bench for Montrezl Harrell. Didn't play that many minutes, but
Yeah,
missing the bubble with for his um,
his grandma.
family, yeah, his family, the stuff that has gone on in his personal life. It seems like that has really affected his mentality and maybe his conditioning. He hasn't been able to play that many minutes, and I mean, only 2 points on two. He only took 2 field goal attempts. He was
Yeah,
1 for 2 and had 2 points. So only
yeah.
11 points from Paul George and Montrezl Harrell, who normally combine for over 40 points a game in the regular season. So I
Hmm.
mean that those two guys gotta step up in these extra games. Another thing to talk about, which we haven't even spoken of, is that Luka's other European unicorn, Kristaps Porzingis, didn't even play this game with knee soreness.
I know.
So
That's
that's
a
the reason
scary
why I
sight.
thought this game was over. Do you
I
think?
think. Oh,
Yeah,
go ahead.
continue. No,
I
you
was
go
gonna
ahead.
say, like, I really believe that this would be a 4-0 sweep right now if you have a little bit of luck go the Mavericks way instead of the Clippers. Game one, if Kristaps doesn't get kicked out,
Yeah,
I think they win that game. Um, game three, Luka leaves with the bum ankle.
yeah,
I mean, those are what ifs, of course, but you'd expect something more from this Clippers team, especially considering that the Mavericks don't have a whole lot of weapons outside of your two European superstars.
yeah. I think the story of this series so far, besides Luka just being awesome as a 21-year-old player, is the depth of the Mavericks. I
Hmm.
mean, you have Tim Hardaway Jr., who hit a couple of big contested threes down the stretch in the Game 4 win. He ends up with 21 points. Trey Burke scoring the ball at 25 points, and then also Seth Curry off the bench. Those are 3 shooting guards that, I mean, they scored what 46, 50, 61 points last night
Hmm.
between the 3 of them. And that is just like such valuable depth, especially after you lose your your second best player in Kristaps Porzingis.
Hmm.
Yeah. What do you see
Yeah.
from those 3 guys that's made him so effective? I mean, just the ability to shoot the ball. Is that it?
I mean, Seth Curry has always been very nice. You've definitely seen him grow into, I think, his own shoes, stepping out a little bit beside his brother's shadow. So that's always nice to see. One thing that kind of excites me is to see JJ Barea still playing in the league.
Yes.
I feel like everyone loves him. He's
The
been a
pick and
Lakers
roll
killer,
god.
pick and roll god. He's been in the league forever, it seems like. He's always been on the Mavericks, so I'm nice to see that. But Michael Kidd Gilchrist, too, a bunch of just dudes, guys that were former high draft picks or former teams were high on that can really pan out.
Yeah.
And now they're kind of on the Mavericks just doing work. Trey Burke and Tim Hardaway combined for 46 points last night, which is, if you could have that every single night, I mean, that's a dream. I don't really expect them to perform like that, but they did.
Yeah.
Um, I'll be interested to see too how this kind of holds up. Luka Doncic played 46 minutes last night.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to be able to sustain that, but he does have those young legs on the bum ankle. Um, and yeah, one thing I did want to comment on is just trying to see more production of Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah.
Um, in the regular season, he averaged 19 points a game. Right now, granted, it's only been 4 games, but he's only averaging 8 points. And I think you've really seen his role decrease with the addition of the Morris. And then also, it seems like Reggie Jackson's getting in more action too recently.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's
Um,
affected it as well.
yeah, what really stands out to me is without Patrick Beverly playing due to his injury and Montrezl Harrell only playing very limited minutes, it seems like the Clippers have lost a lot of their like energy guys, like a lot of their guys that are just gonna like
Hmm.
Kawhi is always even keeled. Zubac doesn't show too much emotion. Like those 2 guys are gonna get your teammates hyped up, get them ready to play. Patrick Beverley on the defensive end, Montrezl Harrell on the offensive end, and it just seemed like Luka had a couple of big and ones where he was screaming, and Trey Burke is flashy, and so is Tim Hardaway. It just seems like the Clippers are maybe lacking a little bit of um, energy or expression that can lead
Yeah,
to
that firepower.
yeah, that just leads to like the team being super engaged. And I'm not saying that they're not engaged, that they obviously are, but maybe just having like that Patrick Beverley to get in get in the other team's head, like, oh,
Yeah.
these guys are about to go on a run.
Mhm.
Having Montrez and Pat Bev not play this game, I think is a big hit to not only their defense and offense, but like their the emotional side of the way they play.
Yeah, even Seth Curry was yelling at Paul George after an and one.
Yeah,
So that was
that
pretty
was funny.
funny. For those of you who don't
Yeah,
know the story, Google it.
yeah, that's an
Um,
interesting tale there. Another thing that I thought was interesting is we all know how good the Mavs offense has been all season. They finished the
mhm.
season with the best offense rating in the history of basketball,
Yeah.
which is crazy. And that that you expect that with Luka Doncic and Kristaps, but their starting lineup today with Dorian Finney-Smith and Maxi Kleba is like, I mean, Kleba has done a really uh, solid job defending
Yeah, he
Kawhi.
can
Kawhi
shoot.
has gotten his points, but you know, only 3 of 9 from the 3-point line for Kawhi, 10 of 22, not super efficient. Kleba just seems like he's done a good job, and Dorian Finney-Smith is a really versatile wing defender. So,
Hmm.
they lose Kristaps and lose some size, but they even with their offense being so good, their defense, they still have a couple of guys that can make plays on defense and make it a little difficult on the other end. Kid
Yeah.
Gilchrist off the
And
bench as well.
This Mavericks team hasn't been missing either. As a team, they're shooting 49% this entire series, which is incredible. The
Yeah.
efficiency is on another level. Luka Doncic is shooting at 52%. Kristaps is shooting at 52%. From three, Seth Curry shooting a 56% clip. Trey Burke shooting at a 50% clip. So you have a team right now that is the Clippers got to step up because they're making a lot of shots.
And it looked like in game four, at least, there was a lot of open shots that just led to points. For
Hmm.
a team that has hung its hat on defense a lot of the season, the Clippers, um, what are they doing wrong? What can they do better? Paul George and Kawhi, do they need to step up on Luka? What can they do to slow down this Mavs team, or is that just not in the cards?
Well, I don't think you really just stop Luka. You only slow him down
Yeah.
at this point. But they need to stop switching on to Luka. Where I remember what Kenny Smith was saying that teams today tend to switch everything.
Mhm.
And you saw it in the last play where Reggie Jackson got switched on to Luka Doncic. I really think that Kawhi and Paul George, or especially Kawhi, just needs to stay on Luka Doncic the whole game.
Yeah.
Follow him wherever he goes. If he goes off the bench, you follow him to the bench. Just don't give him space. Fight around every screen, every action, because you need Kawhi on Luka to make that impact. Because I don't. It's been proven that you're not going to really have Reggie Jackson or Lou Williams slow him down. He's just too good with the ball. Once he beats you off the ball, then he's going to find his shooters. The Mavericks have shooters. Their entire team can shoot. So I think that's really the only way you're going to slow him down. The entire offense is through Luka Doncic. If you look at the games, he's carrying the ball about, I'd say 90% of the time. I don't remember the exact number on his usage rate, but it's in the 50s.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into a new segment that I wanted to start on this show, called Nothing But Net or Off the Mark. So, my question today, we all saw that insane step back 3-point bomb at the buzzer by Luka to
Mm-hmm.
win the game, even the series at 2, over Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson. Um, my question is, what was Doc Rivers, was he right in putting Reggie Jackson on the floor? Should that have been someone else, someone bigger to defend? Was that nothing but net, or was that off the mark by him to have that personnel on the floor?
That's an interesting question, Derek, because I'd have to see who was on the bench for the Clippers. I remember Reggie Jackson played a lot of minutes going into that, but I'll say it's on the mark just because Reggie Jackson wasn't supposed to guard Kawhi Leonard. he was supposed to guard, I believe, Trey Burke, and then they switched. If I'm wrong, correct me, chat. But I would say that's pretty on the mark with what should have happened. What was off the mark was when Kawhi switched on that pick and roll. I'd much rather have, let's say, Kleba or Dorian Finney-Smith try to beat me versus Luka Doncic. I mean, Luka airballed 3 times in the fourth quarter on threes, but you just don't take that risk. So
Yeah.
I'd say if anything was off the mark, it was the switching action up
Yeah.
front.
I just think with their team strategy, which is to heavily switch pick and rolls, I mean, you can't risk having him in. At least put in, you know, uh, Jermichael Green or Shamit to be a little bigger to defend that. I mean, Reggie Jackson is just so small. I think Doc Rivers was outcoached a little bit by Rick Carlisle throughout this game, and I think that was very off the mark to have Reggie Jackson even in that game because you can
Very
hunt
off
for
the
that
mark.
matchup.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. I mean, Luka's shot was sensational. There's not, a whole lot Reggie Jackson could have done. He actually did a pretty decent job defending.
Yeah.
It's just that he's not. I don't think he was big enough to cause
Um,
Luka a whole lot
I
of.
want to ask you something, Derek. Did you
Yeah.
see right before Luke hit the game winner what he's doing on the sideline when like the team
No,
was in the huddle?
I
He
did
was just
not.
doing the little water bottle flip. You didn't see that?
Really? No, I didn't
Yeah,
see
the
that.
rest of the team was engaged in a conversation with Carlisle trying to get the final play, and Luca was just sitting in his chair, just trying to flip the water bottle,
Yeah. Huh.
casually, not even paying attention to the play. He's like, "I'm just gonna no
Maybe
feeling
just
that man."
trying to not let the moment get too big for him. That's interesting. The thing about the last shot that really impressed me was, there was under 4 seconds to play, 3.8 I believe left to
Hmm.
play, and Luka really didn't. Uh, he did not. He knew how much time he had. He used all the time to get the best shot he could get. Crossed over a couple times. He didn't just catch and shoot because he thought he didn't. He really knew the value of those 3 seconds. Those
Hmm.
3 point whatever seconds, and he got off a good shot. A tough shot, a shot that not a whole lot of guys make, but he wasn't. He was calm and he knew what he wanted to get, and I think he got the shot that he wanted to get. Interestingly
Oh, for
enough,
sure. That's a shot that he practices all the
yeah,
time,
yeah,
and he's done it too in regular season games.
hmm
But looking forward to the rest of this series, what
yeah.
do you expect to see? It's tied 2-2
Um,
now. It's a
I
best
don't
of three
think we've
series
gotten
now.
I don't think we've gotten the official word on Kristaps yet, what his status is for game 5. But I hope to see everyone healthy. I mean, this has been a fun series, high scoring games,
Yeah.
a lot of stars. You would think the Clippers defense would be a little better. That's got to step up. But, I think we're going to see more of the same. I think this series might go to 7 games. And we all know that in game 7, anything can happen. So
Yeah.
I really don't have a prediction on who's going to win. I think if Kristaps comes back, it makes it tough on the Clippers. They're going to have to figure out how to defend better, and they got to figure out how to utilize Paul George. That's going to get him back into a confident state of mind. If he comes out gunning in game 5 and scores 25 or 30 points, Clippers are in a good place to win this series. But if he continues to struggle, that's not a good sign for the rest of the series and beyond if they're able to make it out. So
Yeah.
I think Doc Rivers got to be a little better coaching his players. His lineups have been a little shaky, and Rick Carlisle is a really good coach. I think he's probably a better coach than Doc Rivers is, and Luka has been the best player on the floor most of the series. I would say
Yeah.
in a series against Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, the 21-year-old Luka Doncic has really stood out. So I don't know. What do you think we're gonna get from these Clippers for the rest of this series?
I still think the Clippers are going to win it. I saw a lot of isolation ball towards the end of the game with the Mavericks when they still had the 12-point lead, trying to just hold it off. And you're not going to really win too many games like that. And then they also made some tough shots from three. I'd see the Clippers can clean it up a little bit. They're just too talented,
Mhm.
I think, to lose 2 of the next 3 games. But I will say that going into this bubble, the Clippers never really had a chance to kind of fully mesh. There was a lot of injuries, lots of players going in and out, lots of controversy too with quarantining players. Um, And you've seen a lot of ISO ball versus team basketball being played. It's great that Lou Williams was able to drop 36. You see from the Clippers a lot of times, it's one guy takes it on the floor, typically Lou Williams or Kawhi, a couple passes, but then it's let me take my matchup one on one or pick and roll one on ones. So you haven't really seen too many sets being played, and it's been a little bit dysfunctional. So I'd say the more time the Clippers get to play together, if they survive this matchup, they'll be feeling better. But I will say if they do win, they're going to have to get it together fast,
Hmm.
because Utah and Denver are beating up on each other, and they are ready too.
Yeah. Um, I mean, yeah, they have a tough matchup. I think Dallas is a tough matchup for a lot of teams, but especially for the Clippers. I think the question here is, do you want to try to get everything out of Kawhi you can on the defensive end and maybe sacrifice some of his, his legs for his shooting on the offensive end? Or, you know, Kawhi hasn't, you know, stayed on Luka the whole time. Do you want to put Paul George on Luka? It seems like this defense should be a lot better. They were supposed to be this defensive juggernaut, and yeah, you lost Patrick Beverly, who, there's some discussion on how good of a defender he is, anyways. But I see Luka dropping these crazy games, and I know you're not going to stop Luka, but he was so efficient. I'm
Yeah.
sure you can, 18 of 31 from the field, like, you know, maybe, he's going to get his points, but if he struggles to get it, then, it increases your chances. Maybe they should look to get him on the free throw line a little more where he's really struggled. Don't just let him get these easy layups.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I just think the Clippers have not shown how good they are or how good they can be. And a lot of it is, production missing from Paul George. I don't know if that's all of it, but that, Paul George is really the difference in this game. They lose by 2 points. If Paul George, you know, scores 18 instead of 9, then this probably
They
doesn't even
win.
go to
Yeah.
overtime. They win this game in
Um,
regulation.
and yeah, I think you could probably see, at least from Doc Rivers, he might want to try to put Paul George on Luka Doncic,
Yeah.
at the beginning of the game, just start to build up his confidence. Just trying to get him involved, even if he's not making shots, so that he can literally have a little bit more relaxed state of mind. Just because trying to do everything, because if his value is not really being used on the defensive end and he's not making shots on the offensive end, it's putting a whole lot of pressure on him,
Yeah.
to make shots and do something like that.
Yeah,
So
I
if you
agree
can
with that.
kind of show him that his value is going to be used in other ways, it might allow him to kind of relax, just
Yeah,
take a little break.
if his shot's not going to go down, at least he can be used as um, a defensive player on Luka Doncic. He's a big guy, 6'8", real strong. Maybe he can make Luka, just get it harder to get to the paint because Luka's just waltzing right to the basket whenever he wants, kicking out for open guys. And yeah, I mean, Luka is a really good player. I think, starting next year, he's going to be in the MVP discussion. Even starting this year, he was in the
Yeah.
MVP discussion for a lot of the year, but he's going to be I mean, it blows my mind that two teams passed up on him.
So yeah, and the Hawks traded him too.
Yeah,
I get Trey Young's an all-star, but he's not Luka Doncic.
yeah. I think that trade is a little. We'll have to see how that goes because
Yeah.
it's also got Cam Reddish, So
Hmm.
if Cam and Luka can become really good, it might be one of those trades where we
It
know
worked
that
out for both
Luka's the
teams.
better player, but both teams got a lot out of
Hmm.
it. So we'll see about that. But yeah,
Yeah.
Luka is. I mean, he looks like he and Giannis and Anthony Davis are going to be this next wave of superstars. Zion Williamson, John Morant. The league the
Is in
league
a
is
good
in a good
place.
place. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So I think that's all we
That
got for
wraps it
this
up.
game, this series. We got game 2 coming up on Tuesday, or sorry, game 5,
Game
game
five.
5 coming up on Tuesday. A big game. I think whoever wins this game clearly takes control of the series. We hope that Kristaps is back so that we got everyone full strength. That's going to be a fun one, a must-watch game for
Mhm.
anyone who loves the NBA. So yeah, looking forward to that. Josh, you wanna take us out?
Yep. For all you Clipper fans, we'll have a recap of the series. Looking forward to the next series to advance. Lakers, same case. Thank you to everyone for listening to episode 3 of the podcast on our midway breakdown of the first round between the Clippers and the Mavericks. Have a great day. Catch us on Spotify. Our YouTube will be starting up very soon. We will be trying to get our Twitter and Instagram going, and we look forward to hearing from you.
And also, we have the email address as well, right? So if anyone's got any questions, send them into lahoopsandhomers@gmail.com. Send us questions. We might do a mailbag episode coming up. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you real soon.